hard to stay connected with you and keep you informed and updated. They're also your advocates and continuously share your needs within the enterprise. So it's important that you know you are all partners in this journey, and the feedback you provide has influenced many of the recent decisions that we've made. The timing looks fortuitous now, but late last year, we were building significant changes to our operating model with the goal of delivering better and more efficient consultations by using technology and operating more virtually. And that's really given us a leg up in this environment right now. Of course, we've shifted the conversation in many of our consultations to really focus on the support you need to operate your business. So a few of the things. We distributed an agency playbook that have technology options to ensure remote capabilities, and we accelerated the agency technology allowance. And to date, almost all of you have the capability to work remotely, and about a third of you are doing so. We also continue to try and provide guidance and transparency in this fluid environment. As you're aware, we've built a dedicated COVID-19 gateway page and have been distributing agency bulletins to provide you the latest information regarding response to the outbreak, so that literally everyone is on the same page and we have a single source of truth. We worked with our field sales leaders on standardized tools and best practices that they could share with you during your consultations and market meetings that allow you to shift back to running the business as much as possible. And it's hard to imagine, but we had one of our largest new agency classes ever this month, and we helped on board over 130 new agents that started their businesses on April 1st, and we're currently working on virtual installations. And our new agency support team has solved over 16,000 inbound agency support issues. So I hope you are seeing and feeling all this support. On another note, many of you have asked about how the current environment and the fact that we're seeing more customers moving to the special payment plan will impact retention. So I wanted to share some data recently issued by J.D. Power, and it shows a dramatic shift in consumer attitudes and anxiety, as would be expected. 42% of customers are somewhat concerned about paying their next insurance payment and expect to be contacted by their insurance companies. And if not, they're telling us that they're twice as likely to switch carriers. Additionally, since they are not driving as much, nearly 40% of consumers say they are now more willing to use a usage-based insurance product like Milewise, which is a significant increase from where they had been before. So what does this tell us? Communication with customers is critical. This really is the time for us to differentiate ourselves in the local community. Our customers want to hear from us, and those with competitors who haven't heard from them are more willing to talk to us about protection. And in fact, the data shows that contact rates for both our existing customers and prospective customers are up. And we really do have a great story to tell about how we can help them during these times. The ability to skip payment for up to 2 billing cycles without penalty, the shelter-in-place payback, and free Allstate identity protection. And agents who are reaching out to customers have seen great results. So as an example, Nevada agent Mitch Harrigan runs his life and his business according to the principle that to know that one life is breathed easier because you live here, this is to have succeeded. So we really have the higher calling, and he and his staff have been reaching out to customers to offer support. And while his intent is really just to check in with customers, the process is driving sales and retention. So as an example, a monoline customer he reached out to called him back and ended up adding a car to the policy. And other customers have responded by saying they will, quote, stay with Allstate forever. Also, a customer in Utah wrote us a really nice letter telling us how lucky we are to have Agent Todd Christensen. Todd contacted these customers to check on them, and that same evening, he delivered what they had requested to their home. And we have many other great stories of how you are making a difference in our customers' lives. Now really is the time to reach out and connect. Customers are open and willing, and they're home, and they're available to talk to you. So thank you for all you do and will continue to do. I'm proud to be on your team. So now let's move on to the Q&A portion of the call. Turn it over to Shane.
Thank you very much. You can submit your questions through the chat tool during this call. I will be summarizing questions based on key themes we're seeing, and there's a lot of great overlap actually in what we're seeing that you guys are asking. So I will go ahead and get started and jump right into the first question. The first question is around marketing leads, so I think maybe Kurt Winter can field this one for us. The question goes, can you give us an update on the lead management program? Can we expect more leads, and what can we do to maximize the leads we have? Kurt, are you on the line?
Yeah, thank you, Shane. So yeah, there's a lot of interest in this topic right now, and it makes sense. You know, the current environment, I think John kind of alluded to this, you know, there may be fewer shoppers out there who are driving inbound calls to agencies. And so agents are looking for ways to be more proactive. And, you know, we are getting indications that because of the current environment, it's easier to get in touch with consumers. So I would agree that, you know, looking at leads and how we're capitalizing on those opportunities is a great area to focus on right now. So let me talk about our lead program. As many of you know, we launched the centralized lead distribution program earlier this year. And that's really a new way for agents to buy leads. It leverages Allstate's buying power, and it delivers leads to agencies at a substantial discount. Plus, they get the benefit, every agency does, of free access to a lead and activity management system, like Lead Manager. And that system was really built with the input of agency owners over the last 3 years. So we've gotten a lot of good insight into constructing something that's valuable to agencies. The early start was foundational. We started with lower lead volumes to really sort of, you know, prove out the system. But we've had great engagement. We have 5,500 agents that have enrolled in lead sources through the first phase of enrollment. And we also have over 6,300 agents that have signed up for that lead management system, Lead Manager. And the early feedback has been really good. We've got really positive feedback about the capabilities of Lead Manager. But we are hearing that agency owners would like to get access to more lead volume and more opportunities. And so we've actually outlined 3 specific things that we're doing to deliver more lead volume and make more lead volume available to agency owners. So the first thing that we're doing is for those agents that enrolled in the first period in internet leads and live calls, we're going to take the lead volume that was unpurchased and offer it back to those that enrolled in the first phase. And that's going to start next week as agents begin to reach the cap of their originally purchased leads. So that's one thing we're doing. The second thing that we're doing is we're going to create expanded lead offerings for agency owners. And that'll show up in the next phase of Blueprint enrollment, which starts April 28th, so just in the coming few days, and goes through May 22nd. And what you'll see there are more options for lead purchase and higher volumes. And then third, and this is a bit of a work in progress, but we're working with the regions to create an additional cost share opportunity for internet leads and live calls. And this really recognizes the current challenging environment and the desire to be able to pursue more opportunities. It won't be available to all agents, and it'll be focused on the agencies that have had success in this space, but more to come on that very soon, and we're excited about that opportunity. So the last thing I would say is there's also many free lead opportunities available within the CLEP platform, which agencies can continue to access. So that gets me to my last point is all of these offerings that I talked about require an agent to be on Lead Manager. So if you haven't already, I would encourage you to sign up for Lead Manager. And you can do that today on the Marketing Blueprint site. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Kurt. Our next question is directed at Terrence. And if you guys don't mind, I'm actually going to combine a couple of questions that we're seeing that are sort of in the same vein around agency financial well-being. So the two questions I want to talk about are, there's some questions about agency book value and some buzz around agency book value, and agents wanting to know what we're seeing on that and what our thoughts are on preserving agency book value. And then also the second question, part of the question I'm going to pull in, is around whether or not there's an update on agency bonuses and goals and whether that might be adjusted due to the COVID challenges. So Terrence, if you don't mind.
All right, I'll take those in reverse order then. The last question you asked, I'll try to do that one first, which is around what's our current thinking and what are we looking at as it relates to agency bonus or goals. This is one that, as I've promised in the last call we did, and as I've shared in a number of one-on-one conversations, that this is something we're continuously evaluating and assessing. We're monitoring all the results, and you guys are very aware of what we announced and communicated last month. And I shared some of that in my opening about the variable comp piece, as well as kind of freezing of the curves for ECPs, et cetera. So we've done a lot of things already, and we know the environment that we're operating in is unique for all of us. But I can tell you very confidently that I was in a meeting recently where we are actively looking at a number of different options. We haven't finalized anything yet, but we're looking at a number of different options that might lead to us making some additional decisions around agency bonuses and agency comp. We want to make sure that we do what we consider to be fair for you. We want to make sure that we're doing what's in the best interest of the customer and for the overall well-being of the agency system as a whole. As is always the case, if we decide to do something, it may not impact 100% of the agency system, but our goal is to make sure that we're trying to do what's fair and that we're trying to reward performance based on the actions that you're taking. As you've heard from me, and John alluded to this, a number of you that we've highlighted here are really finding ways to engage with customers, to engage with prospects, and you're finding ways to grow your businesses even during these times that we're in now. So the short answer is we're actively looking at a number of different options right now around agency comp. The other one I think was around book value, around the value of the books overall.
Yeah.
This is one that's interesting to me. I've seen a number of different things over the past several weeks, and I've even gotten some emails from a couple of you on this subject. I guess I would answer it this way, and I'll keep my comments general without getting into too much by way of specifics on this. When you think about the book value for an all-state agency, it's like any other investment, which means that based on circumstances, based on environment, it may go up or down from quarter to quarter. There are always going to be fluctuations. But what I've seen at the data that I've looked at, and I've looked at quite a bit of it over the past 7 to 10 years, those values have remained pretty stable overall for all state books of business. And it really comes down to just a couple of unique things that are pretty straightforward. A book that is considered high quality, and a high quality book is typically one that's going to be diversified, it's growing, there's a high quality staff that's there, that's going to bring a higher value overall. Obviously, higher growth rates, a quality book, all of those things tends to move the value upward for a book. And as I look at the roadmap that we have laid out around transformational growth and our desire to take back market share and our desire to grow, I believe that can only benefit you from a book value standpoint as we move into the future. So the last point I would make on this one is that I believe that the value proposition continues to be very attractive overall. And that's not just based on my opinion, based on what I've read from a data standpoint. I'm basing that on the fact that we continue to add new agents over the past several years. We've been averaging, about 1,000 or so new agents over the past 5 or 7 years overall. Additionally, I think just this year, in 2020, in Q1, we've had over 200 book purchases occur. So external buyers, internal buyers taking possession of books and buying them. And that obviously wouldn't be happening if there wasn't a value, a perceived value associated with that. So that's how I would answer that one, Shane.
Thanks, Terrence. We'll move on to our next question now. We're getting a lot of questions around the shelter-in-place payback. The big question is, will it continue beyond May? And do we have a perspective on our competitors' payback? I think Guy Hill is on the phone. Maybe Guy, you can weigh in on this.
Yeah, thanks Shane, and hello everybody. It's a strange time we're in, and I hope that you and your families and your teams are all well and safe. Probably most of you all know, many of you know, I grew up in an Allstate family, and I have a very near and dear family member who is normally works in his Allstate agency location, and is set up and working out of his living room right now. So hang in there, team. Our hearts and thoughts and prayers, as Terrence mentioned, are with you all. So the shelter in place was honestly, it was just a great honor to work on. We put it in place in a relatively few days. We worked, really 24/7 over the course of about 10 days. So we included a couple weekends of full-time work, and Darren Robbins, who's on this call, was a big part of that work too. And then we said, how can we put it in the market? How can we make it sing? And it was just fantastic. I just was smiling as I was listening to Terrence sort of tick off all those really favorable things that came out of it, all those results. I would only add one more, which is 2 or 3 of the first few days, the Allstate app was trending way up in the top 15, and we were trending higher than big time name apps like Amazon and sources like that you would always think would be up there. So our brand really carried, and the responses and the press and everything was fantastic. We set the mark. I mean, FAM and Allstate were first out of the gate, and we knew within a day that everyone was going to feel the pressure to do the same thing, and that's exactly what happened, Shane. That the competitors began to follow suit one by one. They're still following suit. I've seen a couple major players just announce even just this week. So we were first. It felt good to be first. We were first not to be first. We were first because we knew it was the right thing to do, and every leader in this company knew it was the right thing to do, and we wouldn't have the success we're having with it without all of you all telling that story and talking to customers and making those personal phone calls and connections. So the outreach got a lot of folks, but you guys got a lot more. So thank you for making all those things happen. I'll toss in two just quick, interesting things. We are watching our results by the day, and we are really keeping pace with what's happening in the market, what's happening with our driving. We're using all of our tools. And while we are seeing driving go down, which we've been talking about, ironically, we're seeing speeding go up. And I personally happened to be on the road yesterday for 2 one-hour trips, and I know I got passed by some folks who were excessively exceeding the speed limit, and so we are seeing that in our data too. So, but we're watching it just like we did this the first time. We'll do something again if the situation merits it. We're not doing this for the press, publicity, or any of the good feelings we've been able to enjoy. We're doing it because it was the right thing to do for our customers. So if the situation warrants, we'll do something again, and we have an active list, like you've heard from so many others. We're always trying to think of what's next, what could we do. We have a working list of all those ideas sitting right now, and if the situation warrants, we will apply them. So, and then the other thing that connects to it is, we have well over 1,000 books of business that we oversee in the 50 states and the various lines. For the time being, we're really not putting any new rates into the market. We're not filing any new rate increases. If something was already out there from much time ago, those might continue. But as far as changing premiums in the future, we have no immediate plans to do so. So those two things kind of go together. But we're pleased with our reaction. We're pleased that many of the competitors followed suit. We've seen a few competitors done things a little bit differently. When the Consumer Federation of America gives you a B grade, and they give other major competitors much lower grades than that, you feel like we did a lot of the right things, because they usually don't have great things to say about us. I feel really good about it, and we couldn't feel this good without all the great work you guys are doing. So hang in there. Our hearts and thoughts and prayers are with you all, and thanks for sharing this goodwill with us.
Thanks, Guy. You mentioned Darren, so we'll throw Darren a question now. I'm also seeing some questions come in about laptops and technology. So Darren, maybe you could tell us if there's any updates on challenges getting new laptops through the agency technology store.
Yeah, thanks, Shane, and hello, everybody. And, before I let go of that, Guy led the charge. Let it be known he was the one that was leading us through this. So high five to you, Guy. I am happy to give us some reports. We actually do have some. So as many of you have read on Gateway or heard in the last town hall, the agency technology store has low inventory. The entire supply chain has low inventory, and our CDW supplier is no different than that. As a result of that, let me just reemphasize that we have recommended you bring your equipment home from your office. The stuff that you purchase in your office, those devices today we know work. They're secure, they've been tested, they provide you a secure computing option. That's critical at this time. However, we understand, we've seen this through your ordering, that there's a need for additional laptops and so forth, and CDW has a backlog for many of you that have already ordered. So here's the good news. CDW actually, as recent as yesterday, has started to receive some supplies on laptops. There's more to come over the next couple of weeks. We are confident that we'll be able to deliver upwards of 90% of the back order requests based on devices that we're getting starting next week, late next week through, they're telling me May 10th, so let's just say mid-May. And then the remaining, 10% based on some specific devices that are being ordered will be done shortly thereafter in May. But really good news, we got some more supply coming, and that coupled with the advancement on the ATA, the technology allowance, should give you guys the equipment that you need. So, Shane, back to you.
Thanks, Darren. The next one's pretty broad, so if we could maybe get Terrence and Troy to both weigh in on this one. It's really just about, was Allstate prepared for a situation like this, for a pandemic like this? Any reflections or thoughts you guys have on that?
Well, that's definitely an interesting one. You think about who we are and what we do, which is obviously taking care of customers during times of the unexpected. And typically we obviously associate that with a hurricane or a wildfire. And most of our efforts in that space and what we do are typically, associated with a given geography or a market. And we obviously are best in industry as it relates to being able to respond to those kinds of things. But what we're dealing with right now, I would actually assert that no one was prepared to deal with a pandemic of the proportions that we're seeing now that literally has locked down the entire country. But what I will say is I'm incredibly proud of how we've reacted to this, how quickly we were able to do the work from home environments for all our employees, the speed at which we were able to work in partnership with agencies to help them adjust to this new environment, and just a host of other things that we've done. And we've already talked about Guy and the incredible job that he and his product team did to really lay the framework for the piece that we've already talked about. So I'm proud of how we reacted to it overall. But Troy, why don't you share some specifics of additional things that we did from an agency standpoint that'll give additional insights into this.
Yeah, thanks, Terrence. I'll be glad to. And it's a fantastic question. And as Terrence mentioned, we have continually for decades planned for major events, knowing that business continuity is key to our system's success in any environment. And I also want to recognize that all of you make these similar type plans as well. So, but every situation that we face is unique, as Terrence called out. So focusing on what it's going to take to maintain our business, and then testing that continuity plan against multiple scenarios is important. Interestingly enough, we recently tested against a pandemic scenario, and ultimately I think some of those insights helped us during this event. But I want to back up a little bit before this and talk about, we made very strategic investments over the past several years that are helping us succeed in today's environment. A couple of those examples that you all participated in, beginning with the agency desktop reinvention, along with the installation of voice telephony in most of our agencies, has really enabled the remote readiness and success that you're experiencing and that Allstate's experiencing today. Last year, we rolled out Office 365, which equipped every agency in our entire system with the critical tools like Skype that we've been highly leveraged during the crisis that we're in. We've made investments in security enhancements, significant security enhancements that are protecting our customers and your businesses through this, and we're seeing increasing instances of phishing and other types of cyber fraud out where people are trying to take care of the situation that we're in. And the last one is integrated service. We're providing seamless customer support for many of our enrolled agencies, and that's been really going well for us. But at the same time, while we've been planning, there were some things that came on us pretty fast that we had to adjust, and we've learned from. One of those two of them that John mentioned really were the virtual education shift that we've made with new agencies and staff, and then moving more of our content, our education content, to an on-demand environment where you and your staff can leverage those resources when you want to, as well as our sales leaders being able to connect with you and have the right tools to give you the consultation support that you need on the topics that you need them to help you dig into. So those have both been really well received. And then the work you're doing that's been mentioned already around supporting our customers in a remote or virtual environment, leveraging Skype appointments with customers, and ultimately demonstrating the value that our customers are paying for by having Allstate and you as their agency owner has been quite remarkable. So there's a long list of things, and I believe what's got me excited about the plans that we put in place, how we've responded to the areas where we had an opportunity, is really, it's allowed us to continue to maintain our focus on our transformative growth plans and ultimately taking back market share and growing your businesses, growing Allstate. And a couple of examples, it wasn't the reason that Guy and team went to work on the shelter-in-place payment and the free Allstate identity protection. It really has got the phones ringing in agencies. We've got numerous examples about the goodwill that's created and people reaching out to your businesses. And of course, it applies, as Guy mentioned, to new businesses, and it helps you close more. The templates and communication documents that are loaded into eAgent for you give you the ability to communicate well with your customers and with the right messaging as well. And those have been highly leveraged by all of you. And we'll continue to lean into the proper tools for your staff, for yourselves, to create the flexibility you need, as well as put some incentives out there that are going to help you get your staff excited about selling and growing your business as well. So there's more to come in that space, but lots of really good planning that ultimately led to some really positioned us well to move through this crisis.
Thanks, Troy. This is the last question, so I think we'll give this question to Terrence and then let him bring us home after he answers. So the president and others have started talking about reopening the economy. Has Allstate started to think about guidance for reopening agencies and re-engaging customers?
That's a really good question. Some of what you referred to about the guidance from the federal government, that was really just released yesterday. And I know that our risk team is reviewing that material right now to make sure that there's clarity and we understand the crux of it. The bottom line is that we want you, your staff members, and everyone around you to continue to be safe. We also recognize that based on our current understanding of the way this is going to work, it will likely vary significantly. Understanding at least that there's a criteria for the states based on them meeting certain requirements. So it won't be the flipping of a light switch and everyone's back to work. It'll be a gradual process that literally is happening by state. But what I can commit to you is that we will continue to push out additional information to you on the COVID-19 update that we will have something out more positive than that. Yes, some of those plans are solidified so that we can kind of play a role in helping you understand what's happening in your markets as it relates to kind of the reopening of America. Just a couple of really quick comments to wrap this up. I know we're really low on time now, and I'll leave it together this way with a 2-minute personal sharing. So here we sit in the middle of April, and April is a special month within the Williams family, in my family. It's special for us for a few reasons. Number one, April is the birth month for my 82-year-old dad, my 19-year-old son, and myself. So obviously I'm in the middle of those two from an age standpoint, but all three of us were born in April. Additionally, because of our faith, we celebrate Easter is a big holiday for us, and we tend to celebrate Easter during this month, of course. And obviously, with the current conditions, everything has been different. We haven't been able to celebrate in our traditional ways because of the shelter in places and everything that's going on. But here's what it's led to. It's led to a different type of interaction. I now probably talk to my 19-year-old son almost every day because he's under the same roof I am. And go back 6 months ago, and I may chat with him twice a week, maybe. So my point here is the shelter in place and everything has led to a good outcome despite all of the challenges. And just as our country through all of this, and I think we will emerge stronger as a country as a result of everything that we've gone through. I think that we will be more united as a country, and I think that we will be well positioned to face the future. And I believe all three of those things apply to us as a company as well. I think that everything we're going through now will allow us to emerge stronger as an organization. I think we will be more united and connected, particularly with you folks, our agency partners, in service of our customers. And that will position us to really be ready to face the future, not only today, but also for tomorrow. So thank you again for joining us. I wish you, your families, your staff members health and safety. Thank you for everything that you're doing. Stay safe and good selling. Thanks for joining us.